quarterback somewhere. Maybe he'll float to the top. I'm in Florida today. I'm on vacation with my family, trying not to wake them up. So I said, let's go find a really pretty spot out there. And so I'm halfway between Fort Myers and Sanibel Island. So there's a bridge that takes you out to Sanibel Island, and there's some places to park where people go to fish. So I just saw a couple guys go out with some pretty big reels and rods out there, trying to go get some stuff. But, man, it is absolutely beautiful here today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setting. I'll give you that. I think this will make a lot of people feel a lot better when they wake up this morning and they join Dogs on the Run. You guys know the number is 216-431-3820. You can Skype us at Dogs on the Run. You can check us out on Twitter as the hashtag is Dogs on the Run. You can hit us up on Twitter at Andy Baskin. Do you have a little dash in there or no?
Andy underscore.
Yeah, you have the underscore. Mine is very easy, at Dre Knott. Team loses yesterday 20-10 to finish the season at 7-9, Andy. They lose their last 5 games in a row. And in a lot of ways, it's hard for some people to not sit here and say, same old story, same old dance. We'll get in and go back and forth. Is this the same old story? Is this the same old dance? But you go into Baltimore, all 3 teams in the AFC North end up in the playoffs. Is it fair to say same old dance, same old party, same old song? Or did you see something differently this season that we should squash that now?
I think the biggest difference, Andre, is what we're seeing today, that guys are actually getting called out, that they're being held responsible for what they're supposed to do. And I think that's a little bit of a change from what we've seen in the past. I mean, how many times before have we've kind of known some of these things, but no one's ever called anybody out. So you've got veterans on this team that want to sit out there and say, you know what, Johnny Manziel, you want to be in the NFL? That's not going to cut it. Josh Gordon, you did not work out for us at all. In fact, it may have been better off if you would have been suspended the whole season. So it's time to grow up for a lot of these guys. I think the hard part for me, Andre, is, especially with the young rookies that were having problems, the Browns should have known some of this stuff going into it when you draft them. And it's not all on no, it is. It's all on the player, but the Browns should have known better if they were going to get themselves in a situation for guys that weren't going to take it seriously. Think about all the tests we talk about when they go to the Combine in Indianapolis. They're supposed to find out all these things. Whatever that is, that absolutely failed this year, especially when it comes to your first-round picks.
It's a great point. Let me say this. It's okay to take a reach on one player. I think you get in trouble as an organization when you start reaching on multiple players. Obviously, this regime doesn't have much to do with the Josh Gordon situation. He was here already. He was already a problem. They took him in thinking, hey, he's got a suspension. Maybe he'll get with our program and he'll help us out because it's a position of need. The concern, for what you just said, when you look at the draft picks, your 8th pick overall, really a wasted year for Justin Gilbert. I'm sorry. It's hard to find anything positive with Justin Gilbert with the 8th pick. With the 22nd pick, with Johnny Manziel, look, we can go back and forth on why he was drafted, why he was still there in the draft. Were the Browns the only team in the first round that were willing to draft him and take that risk? I don't know. That's a question that will always be out there. But you could even go to Terrence West, who was the 3rd-round pick. You're right. In the way they scout and look at certain players, they're going to have a long talk over the next few weeks of, okay, what do we need to learn about guys before we bring them in? Because the thing, and I said this last night, the thing about Justin Gilbert, I won't say this about Johnny Manziel. I think he's a whole different thing. But it felt like to me, and you've been in locker rooms, whether it's NBA, hockey, you know what locker rooms are. Justin Gilbert came off to me this year as a guy that was happy that he made it. Like, to him, he made it when he was drafted in the first round. You know what I mean? You ever meet guys like that they're like, hey, I'm in the NFL. I got a lot of money now. He never worked once he got to that point, Andy.
Well, Andre, I think it's true. I don't know if it's just football, but I think we all have kind of a crash after you get a dream job. I mean, Let's be honest. I mean, sitting in Nev's chair, sitting in Gibbs' chair, when you get that job, you sit around your whole life as a kid saying, man, I hope one day I would just like to be on TV in Cleveland. One day I'd like to do this. And then all of a sudden, the job is yours. And then the next question becomes, what are you going to do with it? And for the folks that can't get to that, what are you going to do at this point? That's where the issues come. And I think that's what happened with Justin. I don't know. You tell me, do you think that Justin Gilbert has more upside than Johnny when it comes to trying to get an attitude change here? Because, I mean, Johnny has been on the record saying, I'm not going to change. If he doesn't change, he's gone.
Yeah. I said this last night. I think Connor Shaw will have a longer career than Johnny Manziel. Let me go back to your question, and then we'll go to George and get this thing started. I'm going to say Justin Gilbert is more talented than Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel really has to he really needs to look in the mirror. because not only is the partying and everything else a problem, I don't know if his skill set fits the NFL, Andy. I mean, you look at Connor Shaw yesterday, a guy that's not very talented, doesn't have the arm strength that's needed in this league. But you know what? He looked like he commanded the offense better. He understood the offense better. The team responded to him better. He looked like a guy that for 17 weeks went into the Browns facility and listened and did whatever was asked of him, was prepared. Now, talent we can't fault him for, but we can give him credit that he was prepared. And I got to tell you, wake up this morning, a lot of Browns teammates, a lot of guys he plays with on that team, I bet you if you put truth serum to them and you said, hey, we had to play a game in 3 or 4 days, who would you trust more, Connor Shaw or Johnny Manziel? I would say 98% of the room would say Connor Shaw. If you're Johnny Manziel and you know that, it's time to wake up.
I think you're right. The difference, I think, between Connor Shaw yesterday and Johnny Manziel in the limited time that we saw him, when Connor Shaw had to bail out and run, he looked like he was in control.
Yeah.
When Johnny had to bail out and run, it looked like all hell was breaking loose. And I think that was one of the biggest things. The other question that came up during the game, and Andre, we had talked about this last week, about scout team reps. Yeah. I mean, I've heard everything from Johnny never took any scout team reps to it was 50-50 to yesterday the broadcasters who couldn't tell Jordan Cameron from Cameron Jordan all said, that Johnny was taking the scout team reps. So a lot of misinformation out there, especially when it comes to what was going on in practice. So I'll tell you this, for what Connor Shaw was yesterday, they had a chance in the fourth quarter, and going into the game yesterday, I never thought they'd be in that position.
I didn't either. All right, let's go to our friend George, who's in Lakewood. Always good to talk to him. George, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And don't forget our Canadian friends and Boxing Day.
Absolutely. Boxing Day is always a big one.
Yes. Let me just quickly, the game yesterday, I don't know, it was more of a just timid, real timid, lethargic, boring game. But Connor Shaw hung in there. He really hung in there for a quarterback who just got thrown into the depths of starting 2 days before. He did a decent job. I was really, really happy with it.
No, I agree with you. George, did you notice the relationship he had with Brian Hoyer throughout the game as well?
Absolutely.
You didn't see that with Johnny Manziel, did you?
That is what a quarterback does. A quarterback prepares. He does not party at the 9. He doesn't party at a Hooley house or wherever. He prepares. I heard he also played on the practice team, a wide receiver and safety.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with him. And remember, guys, he was tutored by Steve Spurrier. I do believe he was a quarterback and won a Heisman Trophy. That's invaluable right there.
Yeah, he didn't win a Heisman, but he did have unbelievable records at South Carolina. Only threw 1 interception his senior year.
All right, now to the serious part, real fun part. Incomplete grades for our first-round draft picks. Incomplete. Gilbert might slightly.
George,
no, let me put it this way.
Yeah, they played
slightly.
16 games. You got.
No. Incomplete. Both of them.
Well, here, I'll give you guys a stat. And George, I love you. I'm gonna let you go.
Okay, Andre.
Good
thank
talking
you.
to you. Happy New Year. Take care, buddy.
Happiest New Year to both of you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate it. This is what's scary, Andy. Obviously, if I had to jump in that water behind you, that'd be scary for me. But here's the scary. No, seriously. Now take this in, and before you guys react, I want everybody to listen to this. Yesterday, when the Browns were playing in Week 17, 16th game of 2014, only one of their last 5 first-round picks was on the field yesterday. One of their last 5 first-round picks. Now, we can go through where Trent Richardson is, and we can do all of that. But you know as well as I do, and I think most of the people listening and most people joining our show, this is an issue, and I'm not trying to scare people. If you don't hit on your first-round picks year in and year out, it's hard to build anything. And when you don't have Gilbert playing, you don't have Manziel playing, you have Mingo playing with one arm, and I'm not going to say he's a bust, but he's probably not what you expected. A position that really in the last 8 years, 7 years, the only first-round pick you've hit on has been Joe Hayden.
Well, Andre, here's my point on that. That is a direct byproduct of ownership change, having a different general manager every year, having a different head coach every year. There's no way you're going to get any kind of consistency or you're going to be able to figure out what the ingredients need to be on this team when you're changing the formula for what you want to make. You got new Coke, old Coke, crappy Coke, and even worse Coke than that. And that's what you keep making every year with this team. So what are you supposed to do? I mean, I understand you need to hit on these first-round picks, but the philosophies are so different on what they want and what they're trying to figure out that it's not a surprise to me that they're a complete mess when it comes to that. And the fact that there's no excuse for that, though, Andre,
No.
other than the fact that your ownership has been changed over and you can't determine what you want for a general manager or a head coach or an offensive game plan or a defensive game plan. That's where the mess is. And until you get consistency, you can expect it to be a mess moving forward.
Absolutely. Best thing that came out of yesterday's game, in my opinion, Andy, is that the owner, who, and you've been doing radio shows last week. I heard a couple of them before you took off. We were all kind of saying, what's Haslam going to say? When's Haslam going to talk? Came out right after the game, about 4:15, says, look, Mike Pettin will be back as my coach. Ray Farmer will come back as my general manager. Despite missing on certain guys and this and that and some of the issues late in the season, I thought personally, best thing that the owner could do, everybody, and look, because of what's happened in the last 2 seasons, obviously it's in the back of everyone's mind of, hey, could the coach be fired? Kudos to the owner for finally kind of getting it, squashing that so we can have a normal Monday where we're not all scrambling, wondering if the news is going to come down.
Here's another thing, too, and if you go back and look at the entire season, Jimmy Haslam did what an owner should do. He talked before the season. He talked after the season. You and I were kind of chasing something on Saturday night where we had heard some bubblings that maybe there were some changes coming, and I immediately found out, and we had talked about this too, that they were absolutely 100% not true. So that was a good thing. But again, Haslam avoids being a part of the drama when he talks at the beginning of the season and talks at the end of the season. And I thought his words yesterday were very good, even if Jimmy Haslam wanted Johnny Manziel on the field in the middle of the season to make the people that sold all those tickets happy. We never knew it. We never heard a word. There were no rumblings. He kept it to himself. For the most part, people were just speculating on what they thought. He stood out there yesterday and said what he said at the beginning of the season, pretty much, Andre, and correct me if I'm wrong because I wasn't standing there when he said all this stuff, but he said at the beginning of the season, Johnny Manziel has to learn how to be a rookie. Yesterday, he talked about a kid who needed to be a rookie, who did not come anywhere near expectations for what they expected them. And that's just not football. That's life. That's about being a professional. That's about working in an organization. And from what he said to me yesterday, he made me believe that he, Ray Farmer, and Mike Pettin are all on the same page. And despite the fact that you only had 7 wins and it might feel disappointing, I think that might be the most positive thing, that they all appear to be on the same page.
Yeah. You know, we'll get into the 7 wins and if that's disappointing or not. Me personally, I think this is huge for the Browns, especially if they can build upon it. But that's a conversation we'll have down the road. I know it's hard to take in when they lose 5 in a row in the month of December. But still, 7 wins is not something you expected, I expected, or anyone else. Speaking of first-round picks, let's go to our first-round pick, the one and only Tim Couch. Happy holidays to you, my friend. We appreciate you waking up this morning. Just your thoughts on Connor Shaw getting thrown to the Wolves. But he survived for the most part in Baltimore yesterday, Tim.
He did. And, to be honest with you, I'm not really surprised that Connor played the way he did. I had a chance to cover Connor quite a bit when he was at South Carolina. I called quite a few of his games and was always impressed with his toughness, his preparation, his understanding of the game, and his toughness. And, I think all that showed yesterday. And you're talking about a guy who, just gets called up off the practice squad, has really no reps all season long, any quality reps. And he goes in there and he plays really well, in my opinion, given the circumstances. Especially in the first half, they were getting after him pretty good, but he still stood in there and made some plays. And, I hate to say it, but, he looked a lot more efficient in the pocket than Johnny Manziel did and looked like he had a better understanding of what was going on. When Connor was in there, I think you saw the ball coming out on time. Just a guy who knew where he was supposed to go with the football. And, for a guy who had, basically no reps, I think that was pretty impressive.
Very impressive. I agree with you. And look, we both know the pedigrees of both quarterbacks. But if you're the Browns, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, Tim, tell me, but if I'm the Browns and I'm the coaching staff, I feel better about how I prepare my players every day because you know what I mean? Because after you watch Johnny, I think a lot of people went back to Coach Shanahan and the different coaches and they're going, hey, did we do something wrong for Tim, for Johnny to look the way he looked? And as you said, Connor went out and looked like an NFL quarterback. So to me, the light shines back on Johnny more so than the coaching staff.
I agree with that. I think that it all comes back to Johnny and his preparation. He can say the right things in the media and talk about, he wants to do this, he wants to change that. But, it's all about going out and doing it. And the results are going to show on the field. It's going to show what you've done. You can't just show up on Sunday and say, I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to be a great athlete and I'm going to come out and make plays and try to win a football game. The work is done throughout the week, throughout the off season. And, the guys who put in the time, the guys who do that kind of stuff, those are the guys that go out and have success on Sundays. And, it's always easy to point to the coach and say you should have had this guy ready or that guy ready. But, to me, it always comes down to the player. The player has to be in there. He has to, commit to the process of going in and studying film and understanding the game plan and knowing it inside and out. And, a coach can only take you so far. And, the guys who are willing to put in a little extra time and, do the right things, not be worried about what's going on off the field so much and, really focus on doing their job and be concerned with the guys around them that are counting on them week in and week out. Those are the guys I think that go out and have the most success.
Big conversation around here, guys, in Cleveland over the last 24 hours has been the players' activities on Friday nights. We have Pierre Woods in here, former NFL player, Glenville Star, and he said it perfectly to me last night. To us, I thought his quote, guys, and I'll get an answer from both of you guys. I don't know, Tim, if you can see. Andy's taking after you now, just going out to the sea. That's what the Browns.
I like Andy. It looks good, man.
It looks real good, right?
I'm in Fort Myers, so life is good over here.
All he's got to do is throw a pole in there and see if he can grab us some salmon or something before we get out of here at 8 o'clock or 8:30. But I got to bring, all right, the partying. And people are calling them the juvenile Jays. Tim, you were a young dude, had money in your pocket. You were going around Cleveland. You had older teammates. And Pierre Woods had this comment. He says when he played for New England and played under Pepper Johnson, who played with Lawrence Taylor, if you remember, for the Giants, he said the rule was real simple. You want to be a grown man at night, you got to be a grown man in the morning when it's time to work. He says whether you come in smelling like alcohol or whatever you did the night before, if you're willing to go do that the day before a team flies out or the day before a team practices, you only get respected in the locker room if your butt shows up on time the next morning. Obviously, the Browns have had a problem throughout the season with their guys doing that. To me, this isn't on the I was listening to the radio this morning, and people are blaming the coach. To me, it's not the coach's fault if I can't show up to work on time. Yeah. They've got to find a way to get these guys to mature, but how do you do it?
Well, guys have to be accountable. I mean, these are grown men. These are, pro football players, and these are their jobs on the line. And, to me, there's a right place and a right time to do all this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying I didn't do, any of that kind of stuff because I did. I was a guy who would, everybody likes to go out and have a good time and, do those kind of things. But, on Friday, before the last game of the season is not the time to do it. Why not just wait until next week to throw the party? Then no one cares. Right. You put all these guys at risk and you put them in a situation. Now, it's the player's responsibility to say, okay, I'm going to go to this party, but they have to get up the next day and go to practice, and they're held accountable for that. But still, you put them in a situation where there shouldn't even been a party thrown. I mean, I don't understand who's around Johnny advising him saying, that's a great idea. Yeah, let's have a blowout party right now. Why not wait another week or 2 weeks, let the season die down, let all the attention die down, and then no one cares. So the timing of it is just, kind of a head scratcher for me.
Absolutely. Tim, we're going to let you roll right now. When we get back to you next time, I'm going to ask you the key question. What do you do at quarterback in 2015 for the Cleveland Browns?
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, Andy, before we move on, because we're going to go to Cincinnati, talk to Kim Bro and Catherine Nero. Let me ask you about the partying aspect. And I don't know if you know the details. I'll kind of give you the details. I'll give you the quick summary. The partying for dummies is what I'll call it. Basically, Friday night, Johnny Manziel throws a party. I've been told up to 15, 16 guys on the team are at the party. Obviously, the guys that couldn't show up the next day. You have your receiver in Gordon, doesn't show up to the walkthrough, shows up at the airport, thinks he's just going to jump on the plane and go. The team says, no thanks. Johnny doesn't show up for whatever reason. They have to send the security out to his place at the 9 to find him because he's not answering the phone, not answering the door. That's scary, man. I don't care how old you get, you never want your job sending people to your home because you can't answer the phone or show up. Justin Gilbert then in Baltimore on Saturday shows up late to a meeting when they're already in Baltimore. How do you show up late when you're just in a hotel? You don't even have a car. What are you doing? And we know that there were other guys that were there, Andy. We know Whitner was there. To me, and I heard Tim, and I kind of agree with him, look, do you have to have a party Friday night before the last game? I get it, but guys do it. But if you're going to go to a party, the least you can do is be a professional the next day, right?
Yeah, here's the problem I'm having with the whole situation. One, if this game had been meaningful, well, there's a bunch of things wrong with this, but what if Monday's game or yesterday's game would have been meaningful? What if they would have had to get in the playoffs? What idiot thinks it's a good idea to have a party on a Friday night before any game? I can understand having a team dinner or doing something along those lines, but you and I, Andre, we know we had heard more than just they were at a party. I mean, I had heard they were all at a bar, too. I mean, like visual people that actually saw them at the bar, what they were drinking, what they were doing, all this stuff. So I don't understand the mindset of somebody who's in the NFL, somebody who's under unbelievable scrutiny. I mean, first of all, let's just talk about Johnny. Did Johnny think that he was off the hook because he was on the IR for the rest of the year? You're still getting paid. You're still going to work. I just can't get it through my head how stupid it was for these guys to be doing that.
I know.
And then, because we all know that everybody finds out what you did the night before.
Right.
It might not always be true, but you can always find a little bit of the truth in there. So it's mind-blowing to me, the fact that these guys would put their career, out there and say, yeah, you know what, I thought going out drinking on Friday night before the last game of the season is a good idea. This isn't baseball where they play 162 and you just got to make sure you're standing upright in the outfield to make sure that you haven't messed up the rest of the game. So, but it is absolutely 100% ridiculous.
Absolutely
ridiculous.
I'll throw this out there. Then we'll go to the phone line real quick. Talk to Betty, and I see you, David. We're gonna get to you. My dad gave me some advice the day he dropped me off out in Kent for my first day of college. I'm sure your dad gave you some advice when he dropped you off.
My dad was be gentle. That's what I heard. Be gentle.
And I was dropped off by that ice arena that you played at a little bit too. And my dad looked at me seriously, and he goes, hey, man, you're 18 years old. He goes, be willing to give up the next 4 or 5 years of your life to enjoy the rest of your life. Now, at 18, I didn't take it in, I was 18. I go, okay, Dad, yeah. But it was the best advice I ever got because as I got to 20, 21, and you know how you get those decisions. Am I going to go hang out with these guys or am I going to go do something, am I going to go intern and work for free and get laughed at by all my friends? And you have to make those decisions at 21, 22 of what's more important. What would have been wrong with, and this is what bothers me, and we're talking about Johnny. As Tim Couch just said, Andy, what's wrong with saying, you know what, I like partying, I like having a good time. I'm going to take this Friday night off. You know why? I get the next 6 Fridays are all mine. I can go to Texas, I can go to Houston, I can go to Vegas, I can go to LA, I can go to Miami, I can go to Andy Baskin's spot in Fort Myers. That's what worries me is that there's no thought process in what they're doing.
It's maturity. And the other thing that this is the tired thing that I'm tired. You're 16 weeks, 17 weeks into an NFL regular season on top of OTAs, on top of rookie camp, on top of training camp, all those things. You are a professional. I don't care if you're 18 years old. This is the career path you have chosen. So you better shape up and figure out what you need to do. No, football, you picked football. Football didn't pick you.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand why it's so hard for anybody to fathom that, especially when you're making, I mean, Johnny made a lot of money, but even at base salary, if you're only making $500,000, only $500,000? Are you kidding me? That puts you in the top 1% of this country. $500,000, you can shape up. You don't need to be a party boy. You can do it in the off season. You just got to stop doing it during the regular season. It is ridiculous.
It is.
Irresponsible.
Absolutely.
And immature and letting your teammates down. I could go on and on about it.
I hear you. I'm with you. We probably will. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to our friend Betty. Betty, what's going on today? Merry Christmas.
Betty.
Happy Hanukkah. How are you, girl?
Yeah, Merry everything to you guys, too. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Well,
Happy New Year to you.
I've got to say, all is over for 2014, but the bright light is for 2015, and I have 3 guys that are going to be busting in on 2017. They're going to do 2 years at college and come in to help the Browns from Fairport Harbor, Verlin Williams, Zach Carabine, and Anthony Marcelli. Look for those guys.
You're bringing them from Fairport?
Yeah.
Did we ever get a shirt to you?
I did not get a shirt.
All right, we're going to blame Eric, the referee. Keep badgering him. You just keep calling him every Monday morning at 7 until he sends you something, all right?
Well, you know what? I missed a couple of weeks because I overslept. I don't have to wake up to an alarm anymore.
I hear you.
But
What are your thoughts on Johnny? Because you were big on Johnny 16 weeks ago. What did you think when you finally saw him play?
you know, Johnny Hill.
Well, you can't change that quickly on me, buddy. You loved him. What happened?
Well, you know what? All the hype was out there. He didn't live up to it.
Yeah, I know. Well, Betty, we appreciate you being a part of the program and joining us on Dogs on the Run. We hope you have a wonderful new year, all right?
Well, thank you too. Tell Andy to leave the keys at the back door.
You got it.
Some sunshine in a couple of more weeks.
Yeah, he's going to bring it back for us, hopefully. All right, take care, Betty. Appreciate it, girl. Take care of yourself. Betty was a good caller. Betty's got some new players coming from us somehow or another, and hopefully that all works out. Before we go down to Cincinnati, should I go to Cincinnati first? We're going to Cincinnati right now? All right, let's go to Cincinnati. Let's talk.
A lot,
Not nearly
kind
as
of.
good,
We
clearly.
talked about that. There's a
Nothing's like
football
this.
show on the internet about the Cleveland Browns.
Wow.
We're going to join Andre Knott.
Okay.
I believe that's your name. Andre, how you
Got
doing?
it. I'm doing good. Ken Bro, I look up to because I work with Bill Wills at WTAM. And Ken, this is a true story. About 3 years ago, we were sitting in Progressive Field at a baseball game, and Bill and I have worked together for about 8 years now, and we were talking about social media and using all the different ways, and he goes, hey, look up a guy named Ken Bro and follow along with him. So I got to tell you, Bill Wills has had me following you for a long time. Welcome in, both you and Catherine from WCPO. You guys are talking about another loss for the Bengals, but you're in the playoffs, right?
Last we checked.
Yeah.
By the way, Andre, I thought you were going to say that you looked up to Ken Brew because he's like 7 feet 14 inches tall.
Well, I'm
That's
noticing
just
that
part
part
of it.
now.
Just part of it.
Now let me just say this. Can you get me like just Manziel's address? Forget the phone number because I'm
Is
looking
there
for
a
a
cover
good part.
charge to get into his house?
You know, I would love to give you guys the address. Matter of fact, if you really want some help, I'll see if Andrew Luck will take the address and hit it up. The thing for Johnny, he lives in a new popular area where it's a hotel, but it's also kind of condominiums, and it's got a really cool bar inside. Now, for us at our age, we probably would say, who wants to live somewhere where there's a nightclub down in the basement? For Johnny, he thought he hit the jackpot when he saw this building. Obviously didn't work out well for us, guys.
You know, the problem I think the Browns have historically is they haven't been able to get a quarterback. I mean, since they come back in the league. And I know that there was a lot of Johnny Manziel this and that before they played the Bengals up there. Forget all the party and all that. Are the fans souring on this guy at all up there? Are they getting down on this dude?
Yeah, you know, Ken, it's been very awkward, to be honest, with both of you because this has been one of those years back in May when he was selected because we've got a younger generation of fans. I'd say if you're 30 years or younger, you haven't had very much to root for when it comes to the Browns. They moved
That
away in
sounds
the
familiar.
mid-'90s. They just haven't had anything to root for. Johnny was a guy that kind of brought the young kids in and made them want to be a part of the Browns again. So even when the Browns were winning games with Brian Hoyer, we would take calls the next morning on this show of, when are we going to see Johnny? Well, obviously, after we played the Bengals the second time, and then he struggled down in Carolina, I think the light bulb went off for a lot of people that this kid isn't ready. And now the fans have gone from overly excited for Johnny, wanting him to move out of town and never come back.
Yeah.
It's happened quickly.
Yeah, and I noticed the general manager or the I guess, not the general manager, but the owner up there said the general manager and the coach are coming back. He just hired these guys. So is there like a sense of panic inside the organization now? Do they think they got what it takes, or where is that franchise right now?
Hey Ken, we're not cheap like the owners there that just keep guys to keep guys, so they have to pay all multiple guys. It is big news in Cleveland that we're keeping our guy. This would have been the third year in a row that somehow we would have changed coaches or general managers. Obviously, that's a big issue here. I mock the Bengals and what they've done, but I got to be honest. They've been in the playoffs, 4 years in a row? They've stuck with Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis isn't the best coach in the NFL, but I think it does prove something to people throughout the NFL that if you stick with the same people and you draft the same type of guys, even if they like to be in stripes in the offseason sometimes, you have a better chance to grow a team than constantly changing. I'll give you this stat for us yesterday, and I want to ask you about your team. We only had one of our last 5 first-round picks playing yesterday. When you miss in the first round, you have no chance to be a winning franchise, and that's what the Browns are up against. Okay, the Bengals go to the playoffs every year, you guys, but they just seem to be practice fodder for whoever is going to the Super Bowl. Is this the year that it changes? Ken, I love the hair color, but I don't know if it's working for Andy Dalton.
I think the answer is no. I can't see it. I can't see it.
As a member of one of the 3% of gingers in this country, okay, as one of 3%, okay, I got to tell you this, and you know this too, man. It all comes down to quarterback play. And I asked today on Twitter, rank the AFC quarterbacks that are left standing, and I don't know who you put.
Below Dalton.
Yeah, I don't know who you put below Dalton. I mean, they're
Because Manziel's not an option.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Well, I think you would put 15 quarterbacks ahead of Dalton in the league, not just 6 or 5.
No, but I'm talking about the ones that are
No.
still standing.
I understand. What I'm saying is he's going to be at the middle of the pack of any, And then if you're down to playoff
exactly
teams.
the point, though. I mean, like, to make it this far and to make it further than where we are now, those upper echelon quarterbacks are the ones who do it. So when you see those names and then there's the big drop-off,
Right.
I think that answers the question.
I'm thinking of coming to Cleveland. Where do I need to go when I go up there? I haven't been to Cleveland in a couple of
Wherever
years.
Johnny Manziel's house is.
Ken, we got all kind of places for you. The RNC is coming in the summer. We got a basketball team. We got all kinds of- Ken, I can take you around for like
Bring
3
on the
nights in
milk
a
and
row.
cookies.
You don't have to make it to work on time. You don't even have to be good at your job. You just come here and you party it up.
I'm coming. I don't want Manziel's number. I want your number, and then we'll tear it up. What do you think?
I like that, Ken. I like that a lot. You guys have a fun. Hey, enjoy being in the playoffs. I agree with you guys until you guys. But see, that's the problem. You guys have been in the playoffs and had talent to win. But how do they get a great quarterback to make this team get over the top? Because I think we all know what the end result's going to be for the Bengals this year.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Listen, I love your show. Dogs on the Run. Check it out at. You guys are WEWS.com, right?
Yes, sir. You have it. We appreciate it very much. You guys have a wonderful new year. We love catching up with you guys.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Take care. That was fun. That was fun to go down to Cincinnati and talk a little bit of Bengals football. And Eric, the referee, is here with us as he is every single week. Eric, Happy New Year and all that good stuff to you and your family. As much as I want to make fun of the Bengals people, Eric, they're going to the playoffs for 4 years in a row. We all know that they're not going to win the Super Bowl most likely because of Andy Dalton and other things like that. But is it scary to you that in a year that we really made some steps, Eric, the other 3 teams in our division are all playing the playoffs next weekend?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It seems like even though we had a great year for us, 7-9, I think is a great year for us. It's weird to say, but I mean, I was not expecting that. So, I mean, it's just we are still, though, the bottom feeder of the division, and it's just how it's going to be. I mean, I thought the Steelers were not going to be as good as they were. I did not think they were a great football team. I did not think the Ravens were a playoff team either, honestly.
The Ravens didn't look that good yesterday, did they?
They did not, no. So, I mean, but still, those teams, even on a down year, it seems like the worst they're going to be is 7-9, 6-10. They're not going to be the 4-12, 3-13 that the Browns have been in the last couple of years. So the Browns, looking next year too, the schedule is going to be even harder. So we could have a better team next year.
You go to Missouri twice, I believe, to St. Louis and Kansas City. You go to San Francisco. You go to Seattle. You go to New York to take on the Jets. Eric, I hate agreeing with you at 7:30 in the morning, but you just made a point that makes me cringe. Our schedule does not make me go, 7 wins will be easy next year. I've got all right. And I'm going to go to David here in Akron shortly. If you want to join in the show, you can hit us up at Skype, Dogs on the Run, or you can call the phone line at 216-431-3820. We'll hook up with Andy again in a second. I'm going to tell this to Eric, and I know some of you guys are going to agree and disagree with this. As I make fun of the people in Cincinnati about their quarterback situation, obviously our quarterback situation is still a huge question mark, probably one of the biggest. I got to tell you guys, I don't think you go out and go to the rookie class, and I know this is completely, and Andy's head's going to burst, and he's going to jump into the water behind him. I don't know if it's a lake or a river or whatever else, so I'll just say the water. Man, now he's like on the beach. You got to see. Wait, pull up Andy real quick before I go to David. Look at you. What did you do? What did you do? Going to the beach now? You got your sandals on?
No, what I did was I drove to the other side of the road. I'm just trying to stay into the sun, so I figured if you could
Are you
see
digging
me,
for a quarterback right now?
That's Gulf of Mexico,
you're digging
baby.
for a quarter. Oh, that's beautiful, brother.
Or it's some kind of bay. At least I think it's Gulf of Mexico, whatever.
let me throw
Hey,
this
I'm
to
from
you.
Cleveland. It doesn't really make a difference.
Right. Let me throw this at you. And it's 7:35 Monday morning, and I had to take some cough medicine before I came in, but I'm good to go. I think the Browns it's imperative that the Browns bring Brian Hoyer back at any cost at this point in time. How do
I
you react
agree
to that?
1,000% with you. I think that they should bring Brian Hoyer back next year if Brian wants to stay. That's the big question. That's why I think what Jimmy Haslam said yesterday was so important, because I think that what Haslam said was, and I think Haslam laid down for everybody what the issues were with Manziel. I'm not giving up on Johnny Manziel. I'm praying that he can mature. I'm praying that the Browns didn't waste the first-round draft pick. But I think Brian Hoyer proved, especially if you add Josh Gordon into the mix of things that went wrong the last couple of weeks of the season, Brian Hoyer proved that he is a viable quarterback in this league. Am I saying he's going to set the world on fire? No, not at all. But I think he will give you a chance to win if you put the right pieces around him a little bit more. And we know the right pieces weren't around him. So I know people want to blame the quarterback for everything that happened at the end of the season. I agree with you 100%. If they can bring Brian Hoyer back and just show loyalty, I think you're talking a lot about what you're setting the tone for. Play like a Brown is.
Yeah.
Loyalty, hard work, playing like Joe Hayden did yesterday with the flu.
Yeah.
That's what Brian Hoyer does. Set the stage for maybe the days that are after Brian Hoyer is going to be here. And if they bring him back, I think they're setting a tone for what the franchise could be.
I totally agree. And the thing is, if you start him next year and you say to Johnny, hey, when you beat him out, you beat him out. But until
That's
you
right.
beat him out, he's going to be our guy. And we're not going to do all this other stuff, selling the jerseys. We're going to make Hoyer our guy. Let's go to Akron and talk to David. David, welcome to Dogs on the Run. We appreciate you taking your time out this morning. Man, nice little setup, man, you got there. How you doing today?
Yeah, that's behind my bed. Hey, everybody down here calls me Big Dog, by the way. D-O-G-G.
All right, what's up, big dog? How you doing, man?
What up,
Happy
Double
New
G?
Year.
I completely agree with you about Johnny Manziel, but what I would say to Johnny is, bye-bye. Get some money for him while we can. I'd send him along with Gordon and Gilbert. Get all three of them, get a package, and go out and get some real players.
You know, that's conversations going to be had a lot in the offseason. I think Gordon, in my opinion, you won't see him in a Browns uniform again. But David, the two first-round picks from last year, it would take a lot of pride to let go of both of them. I just don't see it happening. I think you're going to have a situation like most fans do, or like most teams do. They'd rather fight to keep their first-round picks and say we can fix them rather than give them up. Just my idea of what will happen.
I also agree with you on Hoyer is the man. They should stick with him. They should have never took it. The worst mistake of the year was taking him out.
It
Worst
really
mistake.
was. Hey, what
I'll
was
tell you
your
something
best-
else gets
Go
my
ahead.
nuts in a twist. Does anybody know that West can't run up the middle? He's so little. I mean, they kill him every time.
Yeah, he played well yesterday when he went back to Baltimore. Hey, let me ask you this. What was your favorite moment of the 2014 Browns season, David?
I got to say beating Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
Yeah, anytime beating Pittsburgh. Anything.
absolutely. I can go with that, and the Cincinnati win, I think, are the two that will stand out to me. David,
Sure.
Happy New Year. Thank you for joining the show. We appreciate it, and you just gave me a thought about twisting things that I've never had before.
Take care, Andre.
Take care, buddy. Have a
Say
good
it.
one, David.
See ya. Hey, Andre, let me go back to this point.
Okay.
I don't think they needed to draft a quarterback in the first round last year. Right? There's no way you could have gone into the season relying, and again, rip the name off the back of the jersey. There's no way you could go into the season relying on Brian Hoyer. Coming off of an ACL tear, you can't do that. You needed to have a backup plan. I understand why they drafted a quarterback in the first round, but I don't know what the value of Johnny Manziel is. I mean, you can sit here and say, let's trade so-and-so. We always want to trade a bag of balls for the best all-star out there. It doesn't work that way. And people know what Johnny's all about. Now there's a book written on him, and somebody's got to believe that they're the miracle worker to change him around and put him in a different system.
You're right. Let's be honest. What could you really get for Johnny Manziel right now? How many teams really would give you anything above a third-round pick?
Jim Harbaugh. Could you trade Johnny Manziel for Jim Harbaugh?
No.
No, I'm not saying to do that, but do you think, like, if the 49ers, do you think they would do that?
Well, they've already let him go. He's going to be announced as Michigan's quarterback.
Yeah, true.
As coach.
True. So they definitely
No,
would.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a. I mean, if you go through the teams that need quarterbacks, and we could do that for the whole show. After what Johnny Manziel did in 7 quarters, his value is at the bottom of the floor, guys. You know, like nobody's going to give you anything worth anything right now, Andy, for Johnny Manziel.
Listen, let's be honest. Connor Shaw made Johnny Manziel look like an idiot yesterday, didn't he?
Right, yes.
Yeah. Hey, here's a question for you guys. At the start of the season, if for some reason Brian Hoyer is brought back and he's the starting quarterback to start the season, who is number 2 on the depth chart, Johnny Manziel or Connor Shaw?
You make them work for it, Eric. And if they work the way they worked in this season, Connor Shaw would be your backup. Andy, what are your thoughts?
I agree, but there's no way you can go. Look, if Johnny Manziel can't be the number 2 quarterback, then you might actually
go ahead.
You might actually think about cutting it. If he can't be your number 2 quarterback next year after being a first-round pick, then you made a colossal mistake. Cut your losses and move on. I normally would never, ever say that. But if Johnny Manziel can't beat out Connor Shaw next year, man, they had to fire the entire scouting department.
You're absolutely right. Let's go to our buddy Donnie in Painesville, who made it in on Skype before he had to go to work. Look at that nice new sweatshirt for Christmas. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you, Donnie. How you doing?
Happy
buddy?
New Year. Merry Christmas to you guys, man.
All
Happy
right,
New
now
Year.
you're a big fan,
Yeah.
man, and I know you wanted Manziel to work. What are some of your thoughts on the season?
I look at it like this: it's a fail. Even though we got 7 and 9, I mean, too many injuries, too many fourth quarter leads blown due to the defensive backs. I mean, just the whole debacle on the QB thing. I mean, how do you let a guy, start if he didn't take it seriously, and you benched a guy that did take it seriously, and you got a guy in Connor Shaw that stayed late after practice and did what he needed to do, and you don't start him over Johnny? I think that's a mistake right there. I think the coaching staff and the team have a lot of looking inside themselves to do, because to me, they gave up a couple games ago, and then Hoyer and that Solomon last week, they got inspired to play well, and they did this week, but just they have a lot of looking inside to do at themselves, and they need to get this team under control, because it's almost like they sort of lost the locker room in a way that I've never seen before, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, I think, Donnie, you make and I want to talk to Andy about this after we talk to you, but I won't let you go yet. It is interesting that we kind of found out a lot of things that were going on in the locker room that usually don't make it out. And I'll be honest with you, Donnie, I kind of like that they let the information out, that they didn't hide it, because the Browns very easily could have said, hey, Josh Gordon's going to be inactive today, came down with a bug, over the weekend. They could have kept this in-house. I think they let this all out to say, hey, we're not doing things the way it's been done before. If you can't be on time, we're going to let everybody know you can't be on time. Now, before I let you go, Donnie, what was your favorite moment of the season?
I'm going to have to say beating Pittsburgh, and then the, just the games we won and the way we played in those games. Other than that, it was bad.
I hear you. 7 wins, though. You call that a disappointment, Donnie. I know you. I talked to you. If I would have told you 7 wins in August, you would have high-fived me and ran from Painesville to the First Energy Stadium.
Yeah, but it was Johnny that really disappointed it for me. I mean, just the way he didn't take it seriously, and the way the team just didn't care enough to get him to take it seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you, Donnie. Love you, man. Have a good New Year. Take care. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
You too.
Right, Baskin, I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Is it a year of disappointment? And Donnie, you know how fans are, and I love Donnie. I refuse to wake up today and say it's a disappointment, but I do get it.
I'm disappointed that this team wasn't able to do a little bit more after they got to the 7th win. But there are some things about this team and this franchise that I feel like are going forward. Look, the fact that they came out and stepped on some of their guys, we saw veterans come out and start calling out rookies yesterday. Again, these are all things that I don't think we've seen in the past. People are being held accountable for their actions, accountable for what they're doing, and accountable for their performance on the field. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, Andre, and say if this team was up for a playoff spot yesterday, Josh Gordon probably would have played. Let's be honest.
Okay.
There was no way that making the playoffs so you can worry about the discipline in the offseason. If this team would have been in a playoff position yesterday, your big guns would have played, regardless of what we've seen the last couple of weeks. I mean, even put it this way. Andre, answer this question. Let's just say they were going for a playoff spot and all the partying and all that stuff happened on Friday night. Okay?
Yeah.
Would you have still started Johnny Manziel? Or would you have made a statement by not starting him? And I'm just
That's
saying,
a great
regardless,
question.
if you take it into hypothetical.
Right. No, that's a great question, Andy, that I hadn't thought of until you brought up, to be completely honest. I would like to think that they would stick to the discipline, but I know better. If it was a playoff situation, 12 would have been out in the field yesterday. Manziel would have been on the sideline. That's how the league works, right? You play your guys when it's time to win. So maybe I'm glad they weren't in a playoff situation, because I think this, hopefully going forward, makes this team someone to be reckoned with, because they won't and let people like this run the organization.
I hope that we look at this past weekend and this past week and we say, you know what? They were in a perfect position to set up what the future was going to be. And that means not being in a playoff hunt, meaning benching and calling out publicly the problems that we've seen in the season. You made a great point a couple minutes ago. Listen, we heard things, especially over this weekend. I mean, details about Friday night, I don't think we ever would have heard in the past. No. And, in Mary Kay's column today, just with conviction, writing that this is what happened. We've never seen that before, Andre. You and I have known it. We've talked to other people. We've heard it. But you could never gather enough information to definitively say, these guys were out, these guys had a party, this was done, this guy missed practice. We've always had, like, little bits and pieces of those things. Everything seems to be definitive about this weekend. And, we had talked earlier about the fact that Josh Gordon was late to the meetings even when he came back from suspension, would consistently be late to team meetings. It's out there now.
And I just don't get we'll talk about Josh Gordon again. I said this last night. I feel like his talent is the best thing and worst thing for him. He's so doggone talented that he keeps getting opportunities, and I don't think he really takes into account how blessed and lucky he has been, because when he screwed up in college, another college picked him up. Screwed up in college again, and lo and behold, here came Tom Heckert with $5 million. I just don't think the light bulb has gone off because, well, things have come easy for him, and I think it's time for things to become hard for him. I really do.
Well, I'll go back to what you learned pre-draft before you take guys. What did Baylor and Utah know that the Browns didn't?
Very good. Let's talk to one of our Browns backers. Andy Baskin's out in Florida, as you can see with the Bay behind him. But let's go back to Baltimore and talk to Michael Groner. He's from the Browns Backer Club of Baltimore City. Michael, good morning. Thanks for taking the time out, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Not a problem. All right, first and foremost, how did you get in the Browns Backers Club in Baltimore City, and how tough was it to watch that game in Charm City yesterday?
My good friend Ian Schafferin is the club president. We're childhood friends. We grew up together in Beechwood, and it's just so hard. It's frustrating because it starts from the top down, and so far it just seems like Haslam is even worse than Lerner. And while Lerner may have been too laissez-faire, Haslam is activist, and it doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. He's already fired 2 coaches. This draft, the first round of this draft particularly, has been a complete abomination, and it seems like his hand was pretty active in bringing in Manziel. And, the stuff in his personal life, or his business life, I should say, has also crossed over. Obviously, that was pretty time-consuming for him, and the Browns were a complete restructuring job that he needed to be very involved in. So it's just proven to be really frustrating, and everyone's talking about Manziel and Gordon and Gilbert, but, they're the players, and it starts with ownership. So
you're right. You got a lot of
that's
stuff.
How we feel.
You got a lot of good stuff in there. Where do you guys watch the game at in Baltimore before we put you on the clock?
I can't think of the place. Ian could better speak to that. I just usually go with Ian. So.
All right, don't worry. We'll find. I'm sure it's a good place. Try. You guys got it's a great Inner Harbor, great area to go to. I love going to Baltimore. I hate playing the football team. All right, here's how this works, Michael. We're gonna put up a clock and give him 60 seconds. We're giving you 60 seconds.
60 seconds to rant about whatever he wants.
You already gave us a great rant. But in 60 seconds, tell us your favorite part of the 2014 season and going forward, what you expect from your Cleveland Browns.
All right, well, my favorite part of the 2014 season has been the undrafted guys, the guys like Crowell and, the receiver, what's his face, saluting me now. But just the guys they've picked up late in the draft and the undrafted guys, it seems like, Farmer's done a really good job with that. And then what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Your expectations for 2004, like 15. Who do you want the quarterback to be? And was this a positive season for you?
I think that it was pretty negative. I'm not sure the record's better, but I think from an organization standpoint, they're nowhere closer to being a Super Bowl champion. And quarterback is not in the building right now. I think that Hoyer is a reliable backup, but he's clearly not the starter. And I don't think that the guys in the building now, and that's a problem because it takes a couple years for someone to get acclimated. So whether it's through the draft or through free agency, it's going to be another rebuild. So that's aggravating.
Absolutely. Mike, we appreciate it. Great stuff. You ever come back to Beechwood, or are you just strictly a Baltimore guy now?
Oh, no, I come back often, so.
Good stuff. Well, Happy New Year, too. We appreciate you taking the time. If I'm ever out in Baltimore, I'll have to look you guys up and have a cold one with you and have some crab cakes, all right?
Fantastic. Go Browns.
All right. Take care, Michael. We appreciate this. Michael Groner, Browns Backers Club of Baltimore City. Hey, Andy, I got to tell you, it's been cool throughout the season to kind of see the different Browns Backers Clubs and the guys and get their reaction the day off. We always have fun with Howie, who's in Pittsburgh land, but it was cool to go to Baltimore. It's just been fun to get their reaction because we always get the reaction of here at home, but it's good to see around the country there's people reacting to Browns wins and losses.
So I got in here early yesterday, and Brian Colleran, who used to work at another TV station with me, I don't think some people know them,
yes.
Another TV station in Cleveland. We went to go watch the Browns game yesterday before my family actually got here. And I ran into some folks from Solon. I ran into folks from Wadsworth. I ran into somebody from Massillon yesterday. A lot of people down here wearing Browns gear. Catch 22 is a big place down here in Fort Myers where the Browns backers are. It was really cool to see people. And, it's funny, when you run into an Ohio State fan anywhere in the country, what do, Andre?
Oh, you do the O. You do the.
Yeah, you walk up to somebody, you go, OH.
Yeah.
And they always say, I-O. I didn't know what to do yesterday when I saw Browns fans, so I just went, woof, woof.
I had a feeling I was going to get that out of you. Nice. So what do they say back? Do they woof woof back to you?
Yeah, they were like, whoa, oh, Browns fan, woof woof, like that.
All right, before we go to our guy, Matt Lody, we'll get some Steelers talk in here. Does it bother you or frighten you that the whole AFC North is in the playoffs and the Browns are in their same spot, Andy?
Well, if you're an optimist, you say 7 wins, and now all of a sudden, maybe it's not so bad. Everybody else made it. We had 7 wins. But I think you know as well as I know, or anybody that watches this league, they know that the teams that the AFC North played were down this year.
Sure.
Let's see what happens as these 3 teams progress through the playoffs. I think it's going to be a telltale sign because, let's be honest, even with Connor Shaw as the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns yesterday, the Baltimore Ravens did not knock my socks off.
No.
And there were times throughout the season, and look, they beat Pittsburgh, they beat Cincinnati, so they're not too far away, but I think the rest of the league was down this year, and that inflates a little bit of the numbers the Browns had this season.
Good point. And the one point that I'll go off of, they did beat Pittsburgh this season. They made it competitive in that first game when they could have rolled over. The Cincinnati game was the best win of the season, but I thought they had their worst game against Cincinnati at home, which was a little terrifying, the way they were beaten in that game. But they weren't able to beat Baltimore. They played 2 close games with Baltimore, and as you said, one was with Connor Shaw at quarterback. So are they closer to being a competitive team in the AFC North? I want to say yes, but at the same time, I think there's some big strides away from truly being able to compete in this division, and it starts at the quarterback position, right?
Hey, Andre, we were all ready to see Johnny Manziel when we were because Brian had appeared to be struggling, and I mean, he was struggling.
Yeah.
And so think about how hard of a decision it was for Mike Pettin to put a guy in to be the starting quarterback when I think we all see that he clearly wasn't ready, and to take Brian Hoyer out, that decision seems much, much tougher today knowing everything that happened over this past week, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. I can't wait till he talks at 2 o'clock because that's the one thing we kind of talked about after the first game. We're going, hey, Mike Pettin and his coaching staff, they had to say, hey, this kid isn't ready. And they had to be praying with their fingers crossed of, hey, maybe he's not a great, Tim Couch said this to us, maybe he's not a great practice player. Maybe the lights will come on and he'll play well. I think that is a great conversation piece to have at some point in time, Andy, of why was this kid not ready? Why, what do we need to do to prepare him? I think there's going to be a lot of talk in the offseason. You can talk about fundamentals and all that other stuff, but how do you get back what you deserve for first-round pick in Johnny Manziel? And I'm not saying trade him. I'm saying how do you get that for your own team?
I don't know how they're going to do it. I keep thinking, and everyone wanted to compare Hoyer and Manziel. Well, now it's Shaw and Manziel.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. And the one play that I'm never going to forget from yesterday was the big play before the touchdown that went to Taylor Gabriel, and how Connor Shaw got absolutely blasted on that play. But he made something happen, and I think that's what we expected from Johnny Manziel, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Get outside the pocket, look down the field, and get the ball to one of your receivers. You're absolutely right. All right, let's go to our guy Matt Lodi from SteelersGab.com. Steelers are the AFC North champions. You and I have had a lot of talks, Matt. I know you're not surprised. We go back about 4 weeks, and we said if they get hot at the right time, they had a chance to do it. I said on the radio yesterday, I think the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl until I saw the hit on Le'Veon Bell last night.
Yeah, certainly, Andre, that's a huge factor going into the playoffs and even going into this game on actually on Saturday night against the Baltimore Ravens. The one thing I will say in defense of that is that Josh Harris, who is the backup running back, did tweet out late last night, early this morning, that Le'Veon Bell said he's fine, that the injury's not nearly as severe as it obviously could have been. It is being diagnosed as a hyperextended knee. I am sure that they did all the proper tests and everything on him. And if you know Le'Veon Bell, he's a tough kid. He's going to do whatever he can to get on the field Saturday night, and I have a feeling that we will see him Saturday night as the Steelers get ready to host the Ravens. And I guess what's round 3, and it's the rubber match because these two teams did meet twice, obviously, in the regular season, and both teams won their games by 20 points. The Ravens early in the year, 26-6. The Steelers second time around, 42-22. I have a feeling that this one's not going to be quite that type of game come Saturday night.
No, probably not. The only reason I thought the Steelers could make it to the Super Bowl, I think offensively they're clicking unlike any other team in the AFC right now. I don't think they're intimidated to go to New England. I don't think they're intimidated to go to Denver. And I think when you have that number 10 on the other side of what Antonio Brown is doing, and if Bell's healthy, I just feel like they can score against anyone. And the defense is playing a little bit better. I don't even know who 41 is, but he looked like a Steeler last night.
Well, that's Antoine Blake, and I'll be honest with you. I think this 4-game turnaround that this team had really started when Mike Tomlin and even Dick LeBeau decided, let's go with the kids on defense. The defensive secondary has been their biggest liability all year. I had a conversation a week ago with former Steeler quarterback Charlie Batch, and I asked him flat out about the secondary, and I said, if this team loses in the playoffs, it'll be because of the secondary. Am I correct? And he kind of said, yeah, he felt that was going to be the big issue going into the postseason, but they played well against 3 teams because they played the Bengals twice. They shut down Alex Smith and the Chiefs offense, which isn't necessarily saying all that much. The Chiefs offense clearly wasn't that great, but, they ended up putting up 19 points against the Chargers yesterday, and they shut down the Falcons, which, again, not saying all that much, but the Falcons at home could score points, and I think that was kind of the turnaround game when they went down to Atlanta and were able to win that game, finally showing, A, that they could beat a not-so-good team, and B, that their defense has turned around. And I'll say the other thing about what I like right now about this football team is, on defense, is that they're getting pressure up the middle. Cam Haywood's playing very well. On the outside, Jason Werlitz, along with James Harrison, are playing very well. I do think that they're hot right now, but as we know, Andre and Andy, you go into the playoffs, it's all about one play, one this, one that, one penalty. A lot of things can change, but if you're the Steelers, you're feeling very good right now, minus that Le'Veon Bell injury. And I do agree with you, Andre. They were not going to be intimidated. They will probably, more than likely, I think it's a set deal that if they win on Saturday, they go to Denver. And I'll be honest, I watched a lot of that Denver-Oakland game yesterday on the Sunday ticket. I wasn't that impressed with the Broncos. Even though they put up 40 points, they look like a slower team to me. Peyton Manning does not certainly look like the same quarterback from a year ago. I know they have that nice young running back in C.J. Anderson, but to me, the Patriots are clearly the best team in the conference, but I'm not impressed with anybody in this conference. I think it's anybody's ball game going in the postseason.
Hey, Matt, let me ask you this, I asked this from the Browns fan perspective. So, earlier in the season, the Browns beat the Steelers. The Steelers, were able to bounce back and make the playoffs. The Browns beat the Bengals. They're able to bounce back and make the playoffs. And I think that's the difference between the Browns and the other teams in the AFC North. One, not only do the Steelers and Bengals know how to finish off a game, they know how to finish off the season. Do you see any shine of any ray of light for the Browns of maybe getting a little bit better down the road here and being able to figure that thing out? We haven't figured it out since '99, but in the beginning of the year, it kind of felt like the Browns could do that, and towards the end of the season, the cream always rises to the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Andy, when you look at the Browns organization, obviously they took some strides forward. But, as we've discussed on this show, and, I know I hear it on your show on The Fan all the time, and everybody talks about it, it's that this team clearly still doesn't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. And, I just am worried about giving the keys to a kid like Johnny Manziel, knowing what you've already seen, knowing the track record, not so much even on the field, because we really don't know still what we're going to see on the field, but more so off the field. I just really worry about this kid. Part of me wants to believe that, maybe an off season of getting his head straight will get things turned around. But, all I could say, and I read an article yesterday online about it, the 10 things that happened bad to him over the weekend. And the one thing that concerns me is the kid comes out on Wednesday and says, I'm going to take this job more seriously and focus more. And then he throws a party and gets fined on Saturday. That really concerns me. It's got to concern Mike Pettin and the Browns, and it's got to concern Jimmy Haslam because, it looks to me, and I don't know if you guys will agree or disagree, but just it looks to me like they're going to give the keys to the quarterback position to this kid, at least as we sit here today on December 29th. And if you do that, you've got to have some confidence going into the season that he can win games for you against what's going to end up being a tougher schedule because they're not going to play the weak NFC South next year. That concerns me. I think they've made some strides. I think they're getting closer offensively than they've ever been. But until you get that quarterback like a Roethlisberger and even an Andy Dalton or a Joe Flacco, I still think you're going to be looking up at those other three teams.
Yeah, Matt, great
Thanks,
stuff
Matt.
as usual, buddy. Enjoy the playoffs. We'll be checking you out over at Steelers Gab. I'm sure I'll see you all over anyway, brother. Happy New Year to you and your family as well.
God bless you guys. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me as always. And go Steelers. We'll see what happens. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Andy, you know the word or the phrase, rather, that I take?
I'm sorry, Andre. Go Steelers just pains me, man. It's hard. Even in this beautiful setting I'm in right now, it's still very hard for me to say that.
How can you say anything negative?
Even to hear that, I can't even hear it.
Turn around and look where you're at. Turn around. Just turn around and look. Look at that.
Serenity now.
Yeah.
Serenity now.
You know how many Browns fans would give their left leg? All right. I got to say one thing, though. He made a comment about Johnny Manziel, and I had to write something down because I'm so used to talking to you by writing because that's what we do. And I wrote down the phrase con artist. Don't you feel like Johnny Manziel has pulled the wool over our eyes from last, February at the Combine right up till he was drafted on May 10th or May 9th, whatever it was. He was choir boy Johnny, hanging out with the quarterback guru, George Whitfield or whatever, hanging out with mom and dad, eating milk and cookies. Then he got drafted, and it was on, baby. Then last week, he goes in the locker room, puts his head down, says, I've been bad, I have sinned, I'm going to work hard, and boom, as soon as everybody turns those cameras off, hey, I'm throwing a party Friday night. I hate to feel like I'm getting conned by someone, and I probably think the owner of the Browns feels the same way. I feel like Johnny has pulled the con move on us one too many times in 2014 for me to trust him in 2015.
Andre, part of me for Johnny is just the instant gratification generation. And you were sitting next to me. This season for me started at, we were at a wedding earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Remember? And I remember the at the table that we sat at and the argument that we had with some folks that were just out of college or just, the kids that sometimes get out of school and they're now making $50,000 or $60,000 the day they walk out of school, and they expect you to hand the keys to the company over to them.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing I learned this year about Johnny Manziel is he did nothing, absolutely nothing to earn that start against Cincinnati in a position where were still in the playoff hunt, and they handed the keys over to him. I think what we learn about the instant gratification generation is that you got to earn it, and he did not earn it, and it tanked the rest of the season. It really did, and I think you can't just get that piece of paper. That doesn't come with real life experience, and I think that's what we learned this season, especially about Johnny Manziel.
Great point. Yeah, that's a great assessment. It is like the kid that walks out of college, you hand him $60,000, and suddenly you can't tell him a thing. Yeah, that was Johnny this year. Let's go to one of our favorites. Andy, continue to join the sea. Let's go to our guy. Gosh, I just had it written down where we were going. My guy Howie, right? Howie Smith, President. Howie, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Not much, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right, man.
Good.
Thank you for being a part of the show throughout the season. It's been great having you.
It has been an absolute pleasure, an honor to be part of it.
All right, tell us your feelings after 16 games. You got to see Connor Shaw yesterday. And unfortunately, that damn team that's by where you live is going to the playoffs again. Just give us an assessment, buddy.
It's tough to watch, but again, it's a culture thing. Cleveland, we can't close games, and as you guys said earlier, you can't close the season. That's what the other teams in the division can do. We've got to get the management to focus on getting players that can help us to win in this division. We need people in the trenches. We need linemen. Arguably, we may have to go after a wide receiver because you can be about 99% sure that Josh Gordon's going to tramp on his dick sometime in the offseason. It's going to happen. So we need to figure that he's not going to be there. He is, and you know it. Come on, you're laughing, but you know he's going to do it.
I can't say it, but I totally agree with what you just said.
I mean, really. That's what's going to happen. But, when you look at it, they blew it with the draft last year. I mean, they had Sammy Watkins drop into their lap, and they gave him away. And then they go down to Manziel, which was clearly a marketing choice. That was Haslam. If Ray Farmer is picking him because of a thorough evaluation, it's a quick-footed midget, that they went and got. They did not need him. I think that was marketing. I think it was Haslam.
Or even, too, if we would have still traded down and gotten that pick, Odell Beckham would look pretty good right now, too.
I would have taken any of those first-round wide receivers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we could have moved low in the second round and gotten Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Gee, he happened to go to the Patriots. They kind of know how to draft people.
No, you're right.
I don't know, man. It's sickening. But we got to do now. You got to keep Hoyer. You may not have to pay him full NFL starter money, maybe some tweener amount. Connor Shaw clearly is going to be a better backup or fight for the job than Manziel. You got to cut Manziel. Nobody's going to give you anything for him. His future in Cleveland is going to some talent agency and getting hired out to go to like birthday parties and bar mitzvahs and be Brownie the elf, like you can see right back here.
Howie,
that's Manziel's future.
What was your favorite moment of the 2014 season, buddy?
Well, it was not actually a game moment. I got to talk to Brian Hoyer's mom in the parking lot down at the Jackson game.
Oh,
that was sweet. That was great. And of course, the big win, over the the Steelers, the Bengals, they were huge. But I'd like to, and actually seeing Connor Shaw play, that was it. That was important to me because I think the kid can play. I mean, he didn't win a Heisman, as somebody said earlier. He played for Heisman Trophy winner, was tutored by Spurrier.
Right.
You could do much worse.
No doubt. Howie, we appreciate you, man. Happy New Year,
Howie.
All that good stuff. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Take care. I'm looking forward to next season.
So are we. Take care, Howie. Howie, always fun to talk to. With maybe I don't know where Tubby Dog has been the last 2 weeks, Andy, but I think our guy Howie just took the cake when it comes to comments on Dogs on the Run.
Let me just say this, though. I mean, anybody that thinks they're going to cut Johnny Manziel, I can see trading him or trying to get something for him. This is a franchise, and I know it was different ownership, that stuck it out with Brian Robisky and Muhammad Massaquoi at second-round picks for as long as they did. You think they're not going to stick it out with a first-round pick for at least another year?
It's just
something great's got to come along for them to get rid of him.
No, they're Justin Gilbert will be back and Johnny will be back. You know what it is right now. It's raw. It's a raw cut right now. Give it a month. Get to the Super Bowl. And let Johnny go around and do all his mea culpas and apologize. And by the time the draft comes, everybody will forget about everything that's bothered them so much. And they'll go, well, let's give him another chance. You know how this works.
Andre, what do you think Brian Hoyer's going to get on the open market as a free agent? We had Jason LaCanfora. I was talking to him last week. And he was saying, he's going to be one of the highly touted free agent quarterbacks out there. Does Brian Hoyer come back here for a 2-year deal, $6 million?
No, heck no. You almost made me cuss. No, I think if he comes back here, I think it's a 3-year, $30 million deal. That's just, I think that's just what he can ask for. Because I heard that interview with LaCanfora, and I was texting you as I messed with you during your radio show.
Of course, I messed with you too.
And I laughed at him about bringing up Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel earned him some money yesterday. Now, Chase Daniel's my height, but he earned himself some money yesterday because he played pretty darn well for the Chiefs yesterday. But that tells you the competition, Andy. And I know Craig Lindell, who we're going to get ready to go to, he's written about this. People, and like we're on Twitter, people are attacking because I've said, hey, at this point, in my opinion, to bring Brian Hoyer back because he's your best chance within the locker room to go 500, in my opinion. And a lot of people are going, oh, he's a career backup. Well, maybe, but give me a better instance of who can start for the Browns.
Well, the bigger question, I think, is what free agent quarterback out there can the Browns actually go out and get? And they're going to be better than Hoyer? Go out and look at what the market is. It's not that good.
No.
And so you may as well you're going to have to this is the crazy thing. You're going to have to overpay for Brian Hoyer to stay. And you're going to have to give him some kind of commitment.
Yeah, you have to commit. Oh, you got people joining you in the background. While you check out what's behind you, let's go to Craig Lindell from Waiting for Next Year. Craig, your background is nice. Not as nice as Andy's, obviously. Hey, brother, am I wrong? I'm pretty sure I was, because I do go to your guys' site. I thought maybe 6 weeks ago you guys were writing about possibly what Brian Hoyer would be worth on the free agent list. Am I wrong in saying that, or did you actually do that?
No, we did write about that. But first things first, woof, woof, gentlemen. Woof, woof.
Woof, 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 woof.
No, yeah, I early on I was talking about Brian Hoyer getting Andy Dalton money. And now, Andre, even after what's gone down with Brian Hoyer over the last few weeks, I still think that he's probably going to get somewhere in that ballpark of a 3-year, $30 million deal. And once the fine print comes out, it's going to be between 15 and 18 guaranteed over 2 years. It's going to look like a 2-year deal. And I don't see any reason why. This is the thing that bothers me most about the way people look at Brian Hoyer. I don't even care that he's a local kid. I get that story angle, but it's just a story angle. The bottom line is that Brian Hoyer is only, 1 year coming off a knee surgery. He's in his first year in Shanahan's offense. There's this idea that what we saw from Brian Hoyer is exactly what he's going to be next year. He couldn't possibly get better. But you know, a first-round draft pick like Johnny Manziel is nothing but a rising stock with potential. And at this point, I'd rather bet on Brian Hoyer getting better, a second year in that offense, another year off that knee injury. I know he's not a 10-year answer for the Browns at quarterback, but I don't need a 10-year answer right now. I need a 1 or a 2-year answer.
No, I couldn't have said it better. I totally agree. I've been asking everybody, what's been the best moment of the 2014 season? I know you guys do stuff like this on the website all the time. What stands out to you the day after the season ends?
Oh, easily the Bengals beating the Bengals. Easily the highlight of the year, probably the highlight of the last few years.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. All right, what will you guys have up? I know this week will be fun. We'll hear from Coach at 2 o'clock. What can we expect from you guys at Waiting for Next Year?
Oh, first of all, I can't wait to hear what Coach actually has to say, because you know he's going to say something. And sometime this week I will be writing about why I'm not down on this Browns team, why I'm actually very encouraged. It's the first time in recent memory, and I wrote this yesterday, it's the first time in recent memory that the owner, the GM, and the head coach have all seemed to actually be on the same page. I think it's the first time since Eric Mangini was wearing all 3 hats.
That's the only how great anybody was going to agree with Mangini at the time. Have we seen Josh Gordon, in your opinion, for the last time in a Browns uni?
No, just from a business standpoint, it's just a receiver, and they're going to have him under control, and they're not going to be able to get anything for him. So, you know, you just use him. He's asking to be used. He's asking to be treated like a book of stats. So they'll continue to do that, I think.
I hear you, Craig. We appreciate it. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff to you. We appreciate you joining, and we'll make sure we send people your way at Waiting for Next Year.
It was a fun year, guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Happy New Year.
Great job. Take care, buddy. You agree with Craig, or you go the other way? I'm on the other side with Josh Gordon. I think we've seen the last of number 12 in a brown uniform. Just me. And I get what Craig's saying, Andy, but I think we're done with him.
Oh, I do too. The question is what team's going to pick him up and how long will he last for the next team?
Right.
I think that's the only thing left for him. Although I do agree with it. I had said that in the beginning of the show, that the optimistic way to look at things for the Browns right now, and I think it's because of what Jimmy Haslam said yesterday, is no matter what you think, they may not always agree, but right now, Jimmy Haslam, Mike Pettin, and Ray Farmer look like they were all on the same page. And if that's true, then that means this franchise is going in the right direction.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring in Tim Couch. It's time to grade the team for the final time in 2014. And unfortunately, we don't got our guy Kenny Rhoda with us. He's a little under the weather, but I think I can give Kenny's grades. F. We'll keep it it simple for him. Before we get into the grades, Tim, I told you the last time we were talking to you, I would ask you what you think the Browns should do at quarterback for 2015. What do you think? We're all saying bring Brian Hoyer back. What are your thoughts?
I think bring Brian Hoyer back as well, and I think he's your best option. I think you really have to look at what's available to you in the free agent market at the quarterback position for next year, and it's really not that good. I mean, you go down the list and you look at all those guys, and you have to ask yourself the question: Do these guys give us a better chance or as good a chance to win football games as Brian does? And I don't think that they do. I think Brian has a tremendous amount of respect within the locker room from the players. The veteran players in that locker room. I think he's proven that he can win football games for you. And I think if you show him a little bit of commitment and, you don't, threaten to pull him every time he has a bad game or two, that, if you show him that type of commitment, I think he's a guy that you can win games with over the next couple of years. I'm not saying commit to him. He's not your franchise player over the next, 7, 8 years, but over the next couple of years, I really do believe that Brian gives you the best opportunity to win football games.
I agree with you. All right, go ahead, Andy.
Tim, let me ask you this question. Johnny Manziel's bad play, how much money did that earn Brian Hoyer? I would have thought that when Hoyer got hooked, it cost him a lot of money. But the fact that Manziel looked so bad, I think he actually made money for Brian Hoyer.
I think you're right. And, I think everyone was expecting to, for the quarterback play to be elevated when Johnny came into the game. And everyone was so down on Brian for the, 4 or 5 game stretch that he had. But it just kind of, to me, and I think a lot of other people, it just kind of reassured you how well Brian was playing because, the team around him kind of, fell apart with some injuries and things like that as the season went on. But, I really go back to the beginning of the season when, Brian was playing at his best and they were winning football games. They were sitting at top of the division there for a while. And, Brian showed that he can win some games. And, he showed that he can win games late, make plays down the stretch of the football game, not just be a game manager. He showed a lot of things that I think you look for in a quarterback that you can go out and win games with. You can trust, and I think that it would be his second year in this system. I think he has a great understanding of it, and to me, he just is an easy fit to bring him back. I think he's going to be someone that a lot of teams are going to go after in the free agent market because he's going to be one of the higher profile guys. But I think that the Browns need to fight to bring that guy back, man. I really do.
Eric, the referee, let's get this thing started, buddy.
All right, quarterback, Connor Shaw, 14 of 28, 177 yards, 1 interception, and he finishes the year with 2 more passing yards than Johnny Manziel.
Wow, we'll start with Tim. What are your grade for the quarterback yesterday?
I gave him a B-. I think if you were just grading him on an overall, if this was just any other NFL quarterback, it would have probably been way less than that. But if you have to factor in all the circumstances that this kid was thrown into with, being a practice squad player, taking reps as a safety on the practice squad, for a lot of the year, and they just throw him in the starting lineup on the road against a playoff team like Baltimore. I thought he showed a ton of poise. I thought he showed a ton of toughness, and he was prepared, and that's what I wanted to see out of him. He gave the team a fighting chance to win, so I gave him a B-.
Andy, your thoughts on your grade on Connor Shaw?
I agree with everything Tim said, and I'll just add that hit that he took on the Gabriel hit pass yesterday that set him up for the first touchdown. The fact that it was the Browns had a chance to win this game with a guy that was a third-string quarterback, undrafted, he proved a lot. I think he should be graded on a different scale because of the level of expectation that we had for him. I thought the Browns were going to get blown out yesterday, that the doors blown off. He gave them a chance to win. They were in it in the fourth quarter, and as we've seen so many times before, if the defense can make a big stand here or there, I know Connor Shaw didn't look great in the fourth quarter, but, they were in it. And for that alone, I give him a B.
I gave him a B-, guys, but I go off of everything you guys said. I think the biggest thing earned yesterday was respect in the locker room amongst his teammates. And I hope Johnny Manziel realized it's not the plays you make, just being prepared will gain the respect of your teammates. I hope he picked up on that. Eric, where did it do next?
All right, running back Terrence West, solid game yesterday, 18 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown.
Andy, your thoughts?
Why don't we put up this? I can't remember what I gave him yesterday. We talked yesterday. I gave him a B yesterday. Look, he almost had 100 yards rushing, and if you want to talk about maturity, Terrence West looked like he's maybe matured a little bit over the week. They gave him the opportunity. He went out, and he delivered. It was nice to see the running game. They ended up with, 17 rushing touchdowns this year, over 4. They only had 4 last year, so he gets the benefit of the fact that the running game and the rushing attack was a little bit better this year. And let's not forget, they're rookies, and they're only going to get better when it comes to running back.
Absolutely. Tim, your grade on the running backs yesterday?
I gave him a B+. I thought Terrence looked really good. He looked fresh. He was making great cuts. He saw the field very well. He took a lot of pressure off Connor Shaw, and that's what they had to do going into that football game was go out and establish a running game. He goes for almost 100 yards. So I thought he played really well, and it was good to see him kind of get out of that doghouse he's kind of been in and out of all season long and show what he's capable of doing. And I think next year shows a lot of promise with those two rookie backs.
A lot of promise from them. I agree with you. I like the ball in their hands. I hate that they don't block. They have to work on blocking in the passing game going forward. I gave them a B- because I do think they're both explosive, and I like that you have both of them to kind of push each other. And I think you saw that they have youth because when you sent Terrence West back to Baltimore, where his hometown, played great. Crowell played back in Atlanta in his hometown, played great. Now they have to play that way every week to be great NFL players. Eric, where to, buddy?
All right, the defense did a good job holding them to only 3 points at halftime, but it kind of fell off at the end. Grade the defense.
Let's start off with Tim. Oh, Andy.
I gave the defense a C just because the first half they were an A+. I mean, they were unbelievable in the first half, forcing 3 and outs after 3 and out, getting pressure on Flacco. And the second half, I think, with all the injuries they have on that side of the ball, I think they just kind of got worn out a little bit, and they broke down on some fundamental things defensively. And Joe Flacco got hot in the second half and picked them apart. So, for me, it was overall a C-. But I thought that first half was a pretty impressive performance from them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I was at a C or C- as well. A lot of respect to how they were able to stop the run, and they held up early in the game. Obviously late, those last 2 drives out of gas. But I give a lot of credit to the Dansbys, to the John Hughes, to Jabal Shear, Joe Hayden. A lot of those guys did not have to play. Craig Robertson had a great year. I gave him a C, but I respect them a lot more than I did 16 weeks ago. Andy, with the Kenny Rhoda grade of the day. What's up, buddy?
All right, I gave them an F, but that was because I was at a wedding party last night, and I didn't realize that Joe Hayden had the flu yesterday. C is a much fairer grade. I think you guys are both correct on that. I think the disappointing thing is when you go back and look at this season, the opportunities the defense had to stop the other team in the fourth quarter and make a loss into a win. Which my buddy was driving by. He's cut the line. To make a loss into a win would have changed things around a little bit. So, I mean, I was disappointed in the defense yesterday because I thought Connor Shaw gave them a chance to win. I needed big plays late, and I was, I didn't realize Joe had the flu yesterday, so see you later. There goes my guy.
Is that your ride back to your room?
Did you find the water boy?
You found the water boy.
Say that again?
Did you find the water boy?
Did you find the water boy?
I just lost you again.
Don't
Say it
worry
one more
about
time. What about the water?
He said, did you find the water boy is what Eric said.
Yes, I did. I found the water. He said, this H2O is spectacular.
All right, let's grade the coaches. Let's start with Tim.
I gave the coaches a B. I thought they had a good game plan going into yesterday. Obviously, a tough situation with so many guys being injured, so many guys being out. But, they were handcuffed a little bit with, Connor. They couldn't really have an aggressive game plan offensively because of his lack of experience and his lack of arm strength to really push the ball down the field. So they did what they could do on offense. Defensively, I thought, like I said earlier, they just kind of broke down at the end of the game with, just being worn down overall. But, I thought the coaching was good. Players just had to go out and make a few more plays, and they had a chance to win that game.
Yeah, I gave him a C, but overall for the season, I give Mike Pettin a B. Still a lot of room to grow, but I think for the most part, his team responded to him. He came in with a game plan and stuck to who he is as a person. I think all 3 of us know, and we've seen situations where it gets tough here in Cleveland. Coaches sometimes become other people. I think Mike Pettin will always be Mike Pettin. Now they need to put some help around him. I think Ray Farmer's got to find the type of person that plays hard for Mike Pettin. I think they missed on that a little bit. Andy, you're great on the coach.
All right. First of all, Eric, this is not fair because I'm on vacation, and I must have been drunk when I gave you that grade yesterday of an F. I can't believe it. I don't remember telling you that I gave Pettin an F yesterday.
You were channeling your inner Kenny Rhoda or something.
I think I was just mad. I was like, give everybody an F. They lost yesterday. Look, I think the offense, I thought that overall Kyle Shanahan gave Connor Shaw a good game plan to try to go out and do what he could do within the abilities that he had with a limited playbook for a guy that only had a week with the first team, with the first teamers. When you look at the big picture and what they were able to accomplish this week and being able to lay down the law with some young guys and trying to prove to them and show them that if you don't work hard, you're not going to play. And please, can you guys explain this to me? What was Johnny Manziel thinking, tweeting during the game while he was in the locker room? How stupid was that?
You know what?
So, going back to the coaching, it wasn't an F. Yesterday was, they went out there, they competed, they had a chance in the fourth quarter. I'll go see again, and excuse me for probably being drunk at a wedding party when I gave out that F.
All good. Tim, we appreciate everything you've done for us here this year, man. It's been a pleasure to talk to you every Monday. I know you got those two little guys. What do you have planned for the offseason now? What will Tim Couch be up to?
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on the show. I really enjoyed doing it, and you guys made it a lot of fun. And it was fun for me to be back involved in talking about Browns football again. But so far, and here are the holidays. I'm actually getting on a flight here in a couple hours to go down to West Palm Beach, and my wife and kids are already down there and enjoying the warm weather. So I'm going to be like Andy and go find a beach somewhere and lay up for a couple days.
Good for you, man. God bless you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff.
Hey,
Okay,
Tim,
thank you,
thanks a million. Really appreciate you being a part of the show this year. I was really enjoyable, and you really helped us learn a lot, especially from the position, and kind of go back on some of the things that you were able to do. I'm really looking forward to next year. Hopefully big things for all of us as far as our Brown situation works out. So, Tim, thank you. I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much, Andy. I appreciate it, buddy.
Take care, Tim. God bless you. Merry New Year. Happy New Year, and all that other good stuff.
Happy New Year,
Take care,
guys.
All right.
Happy New Year.
I'm putting it all together in one, Andy. My bad. I don't know.
All right. Merry, happy Kwanzaa.
Right. Oh, yeah, Kwanzaa did start. You're right. Good call. Tim's a good dude, man, and you're right. It was good to be able to talk to him about the quarterback situation when you look at it. You mentioned something, and I've been wanting to have this conversation all year long. Does it bother you when NFL players, they go on Instagram, and I'll say Joe Hayden's name. I follow Joe Hayden on Instagram, and he'll like a picture that his wife puts up like an hour before kickoff. And I'm always like, you guys really go in the locker room and go on Twitter and Instagram? Yesterday, Johnny Manziel liked, was it a Chris Rock story that he was getting divorced? Is that what the story was? I think it was Chris Rock getting divorced on TMZ. I know it's a different time and different place. It drives me bonkers when I see these guys are on Instagram or on Twitter an hour before the game or right after the game.
Let's go back, and let's just go back to basic fundamental athletics. Andre, what did you do on the bus before you went to any game? I don't care. Oh, there goes the water boy again. What did you do on the bus before any game ever, at least 15 minutes before?
You BS with your teammates.
Silence.
Silence. Yes, that's what
Focus.
yes. Silence. Thought
Think
about
what
was
you have to do. I know everybody gets ready for things a little bit different, but silence is golden an hour before a game.
Yes, you're right. And I know things are different and guys are different, but I know if I was a head coach and I knew my guys are sitting there looking at pictures of hot girls before a game, it would drive me insane, but it's kind of where we're at, right?
Look, I mean, if you need pictures of hot girls to get you motivated to play the best game possible, all right, that's fine. I can live with it. But the whole world doesn't need to know what you're doing before the game. And especially your boss. Don't you think your boss wants to know that you're focused before you go out and do your job? I mean, and it's not – it's about being prepared and being smart. And, I mean, when I read that about Mansell tweeting from the trainer's room yesterday, I was like, this kid does not get it. I mean, you're on double not secret probation already, and then you're going to let the world know that you really don't care about the game, that you're reading Twitter during the game. You're not a fan. You're a part of the team. You wear the Cleveland Browns logo no matter where you go, and you represent this team. And as a guy who's going to be the starting quarterback, should I think that you're going to worry about Twitter when you're actually out on the field? Gotta grow up.
Gotta grow up. All right, let's go back to Baltimore. Talk to Daryl Kendall. He's from the Baltimore Browns Backers Club. Daryl, good morning to you. Thank you for taking the time out. How did you get involved with the Baltimore Backers?
Well, my wife and I moved to Baltimore earlier this year, and as you can guess, it's a little tough to get a Browns game here. So any chance I get to watch the Browns game with other Browns fans that understand the joy and misery that comes with being a Browns fan, I'm happy to do it. And it's a great organization, the entire Browns backers. I've lived all over the country and always take a chance to go out and support the Browns whenever I can.
All right, Daryl, I see that Bowling Green helmet behind you, I believe, and you got the old Tim Couch thing behind you. Are you from Ohio, and did you go to Bowling Green?
From Ohio. I grew up in Chagrin Falls, Kenston High School graduate, went to Bowling Green, and since then I've moved on. I got a great education, so I've been able to move around the country with some really great jobs.
All right, what we do, we put up a clock, 60 seconds. We let you rant, talk about what you like, dislike about the season, and you can tell us if it was a disappointment. And at the very end, tell us who you want the quarterback to be for your Cleveland Browns in 2015. You
Wow.
can go. I don't know if we have the clock up yet because our great producer, Eric, the referee, and we've got this great tech. Oh, look at the technology. Here it comes, Daryl. All right, we're ready to go. Go ahead and take it away, buddy.
Well, being from Baltimore, it's always, we always have the opportunity to argue with Baltimore fans about who the best fans in the NFL are, and clearly it's the Cleveland Browns fans, and we show that. We show up in their bar, in their city, and we decorate it in orange and brown, and we put it all out there. We expected, not a great season this year, I think, for the most part, and they came out and they won, and they made it interesting for quite a while. And you got to love that. Brian fought hard, and Johnny partied hard, and for that we maybe are grateful. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Mike Pettin is the answer. Finally, we've got a coach that relates to Cleveland, the hardworking people of the city, and I think he's going to turn this around. As far as the quarterback for next year, I don't think he's in our locker room yet. I certainly don't think Johnny has the maturity to do it. I would love to see Brian figure it out, but maybe that ship has sailed.
Yeah, possibly. Daryl, we appreciate you taking the time out this morning. Happy New Year to you. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and when you're back in town, let us know. And keep up that faith in Baltimore for us, all right, buddy?
Absolutely. Fight the good fight against the Steelers, the team Steelers, not the other Steelers.
We got you, brother. Take care of yourself. We appreciate you being a part of Dogs on the Run. Great year of catching up with all the Browns backers, Andy. As you're out in Florida, let's go to I almost called you the mailman. Let's go to Eric. I'm used to you and Bruce the mailman. Eric, what else do we have for us as we hit 8:31 our time?
Yeah.
Guy, hit the mic, buddy.
We got Garrett Downing real quick before we wrap up. His team getting in the playoffs. They shouldn't because they barely beat the Browns with Connor Shaw. But
you can't make fun of anybody because we're in week 17 and you still don't know how to turn the mic on, Eric. What did you teach him, Andy?
I had low I'm like Connor Shaw though. I had low expectations. So.
Jeez. All right, let's go to our guy Garrett Downing from BaltimoreRavens.com. Big G, you guys snuck into the playoffs. We all thought the Sunday night game would be Browns-Ravens. That's what we kept thinking a month or two ago. But it ended up being the Bengals and the Steelers. And for the Baltimore Ravens, didn't look great yesterday, but you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. First, 3.5 quarters, the Ravens kind of walked through that game. And I know a lot of people, you're sitting there in the press box or people in the stands even, you're sitting there watching the game and saying, are the Ravens really going to lose this game when Kansas City is about to beat the Chargers and clear the path for the Ravens to get into the playoffs? I mean, for a while there, it looked like the Texans might be the team that snuck into the playoffs, and they had the worst chance going into the Week 17 game. So, the thing is now, everybody starts fresh. Everybody knows kind of the history of these teams. You get into the playoffs, anything can happen. We've seen it. We saw it 2 years ago with the Ravens when they went on that run there, won 4 games, to win the Super Bowl. The Giants did it a few years ago. The Packers did it. So really, anything can happen at this point. And this Ravens-Steelers game next Saturday night is going to be one that I think pretty much every football fan is going to tune into because it doesn't really get any better than that in the NFL these days.
You're right. You get the big matchup with the Steelers. 2 games already this season. Both decided by 20-plus points. For the Ravens, is it discouraging that they have to go to Pittsburgh to play this game?
I was wondering that, and last night as I was watching that Bengals-Steelers game, I kept going back and forth. Who do you want to win? Who would you rather face? And for a while, I kind of was thinking you have a better chance against the Bengals. I think the Steelers are a little bit better team than the Bengals, and of course we know the Bengals' playoff history where they haven't won in the playoffs at all. So. I think they probably maybe matched up a little bit better against them. But here's the thing. These two teams, the Ravens and the Steelers, they know each other so well. And so you go into these games, it's kind of like your game plan, obviously, but in some ways it's just a backyard street ball. You go out there, you line it up, you know what the other team's going to do, they know what you're going to do, and it's just kind of who gets hot on that day. And that's a lot of times what makes a difference. And the other thing, too, now with the Steelers, who knows if Le'Veon Bell, what his status is going to be. If he's not able to play, that's a game changer who would be out of the lineup for them. So we'll see if he's able to play. And, again, like I said, anything can happen in the playoffs right now. And if the Ravens get hot, if they play like they did for the first 3.5 quarters, it's not going to be close. The Steelers are going to run away with it. If they play like they did in the last 10 minutes, then it might be a different story.
Garrett, great stuff all year with us. We appreciate it, buddy. Happy New Year. Enjoy your trip to Pittsburgh. We'll be watching from afar, as usual.
All right, thanks, guys. Enjoy it, and enjoy all the draft talk over the next few months.
I'd say a bad word to you, but I like you. Take care, Gary.
All right,
Have
guys.
a good day, man. Have a good one. All right, Andy, even in Florida, it's time for... I hit the button. Final thought. What's your final thought of the season, buddy?
Oh, I think there's some baby steps taken this year, Andre. I think there's some things that are going to help this team move forward. I think there's a foundation for what the franchise wants to be. There's accountability. I think a little bit more. The fact that guys are getting called out late during the season. I think there are good things. As long as Haslam, Farmer, and Pettin stay on the same page and we have some kind of consistency there. For as much as people want to say the locker room was dysfunctional at the end of the season, I don't think it's different than any other team that didn't make the playoffs and had a 5-game losing streak at the end of the year. The question is, how are you going to battle through this? And that's what we'll see moving into it. But otherwise, I want to thank everybody that's helped us with Dogs on the Run this year. Andre, great job today. Kenny Rhoda, who's under the weather. Eric, the referee. Paula, who sits over there that no one ever sees, that does an amazing job of making sure this show looks good and sounds good and, everything and catches every one of the mistakes I make when I try to press the buttons to make this show happen. So we are really blessed to have a great crew on this show. It's a lot of fun. I love the freedom we have on this show. And, Andre, the fact that we don't take commercials gives us about zero opportunity to go to the bathroom over an hour and a half period. And every face scratch and every burp or cough or anything you might hear that you don't hear on regular TV, I think that's why I love this show. And the fact that we have so many great folks that Skype in on this show that let it all hang out and say whatever they want. That's why I absolutely love doing this show. I think the future is bright for the Browns, and I can't wait till next year when we come back, and I have a feeling we'll be doing more than one of these shows throughout the week because especially over this last season, I've seen a lot of the other shows that look like this, and I will hold our show up to anyone in the country that tries to pull off a show better than this, and a lot of that credit goes for Eric, the referee. So he does an amazing job.
He does. You guys all have been great. It's been fun to be a part of this. It's really been, I know for us, we're trying to give a relief to the fans, but it's been a good way to kind of start the day every Monday for you and I as well. It's been great to be with these guys. And I'll say this about the team as my final thoughts. I know right now it's a lot of disappointment, and I know we're frustrated about things, but I really hope 3 weeks from now, a month from now, or we get past the Super Bowl, I hope we can all look back at this season as a season that the Browns actually did take strides towards being a good organization. They won 7 games. They beat the Steelers. They had a great home crowd game in and game out. And I know these are small steps, but these are things in the past that we haven't been able to say. I just hope that they can grow from it. And the one thing I'll say, the locker room isn't in disarray. Every locker room is like this. It's just finally here in Cleveland, we have guys that are willing to step up and say, just because it's going on doesn't mean it's right. I think that's a huge step for the Cleveland Browns as an organization and as a team that the players, the owner, and the coaches are all going, this doesn't fly in Cleveland anymore. That may be the biggest stride they take as an organization.
Well
we got
said.
people to dog
Eric,
house,
the
or we
referee,
good?
you can have a final thought today.
We're good. We're good. You said it perfectly. You ended it perfectly.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, Andy, enjoy your family, buddy. You work hard. You enjoy it. Enjoy your family as much as you can because you know when you get back here, it's back to work, buddy.
Back to draft.
Yeah. 2 first picks, 19 and 12. You better be ready come May.
Wolf, wolf.
Woof,
Goodbye.
woof. Take care, buddy. Have a good one. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of Dogs on the Run. We'll see you guys soon. You know where you can watch the replay. Thank you, guys. Have a good, happy New Year. Bye.